So you might have noticed that some Payware airports keep going up in price, but the quality doesn't always match. Some developers will charge you stupid amounts of money for an airport that looks like it was made in 2015, and I'm looking at you, FSDG.
Oh. Oh. Chat. Is this it? Is this honestly all you get?
But luckily there are some absolute gems out there that are actually worth your hard-earned cash. I've spent way too much time, and I mean literally far too much time, basically living in European airspace, testing hundreds of these things for you so that you don't have to waste money on garbage. Alright, let's do this. Starting us off is Aerosoft's Oslo, which dropped around April last year. It's the main hub for Scandinavian Airlines and Norwegian, so you'll have plenty of routes to fly. But what really gets me with this scenery is how alive it feels. There's custom vehicles on the apron, trains passing by, and they've modelled the Odal wind farm you see on approach. The custom jetways on each terminal are absolutely spot on in my opinion, and there are different variations depending on which pier you're looking at. Yes, and I have no life, and I did notice that. If you're a sucker for high quality terminal interiors, this is a great option as well. You can see animated passengers, and there are even ambient sounds as you move around. Performance-wise, it runs really well on my PC, and I've seen others on 30 series cards also say the same thing. But if your computer is powered by hamsters, you can dial down the passenger density and vehicles to squeeze out a few more frames if you need to. So far there's been a couple of updates since its release. Version 1.0.1 fixed some visual artifacting and improved aerial imagery, and version 1.0.2 sorted backward compatibility for MSFS 24. Yes, I agree that's not a ton of updates, but honestly it's largely down to the fact that the developers just got a lot right first time. There's just not a lot to improve on, wild concept I know. The routes for Oslo are also brilliant in my eyes. To name just a few, you can take the Phoenix A320 or 319 to Heathrow as BA, you can fly the PNDG 738 or the iFly Max to Prague as a Norwegian, Mediterranean destinations like Naples, Barcelona and Split, Madeira even, or you can do a long haul to JFK if you want to. Oslo is what happens when Aerosoft actually tries. It performs well, it looks gorgeous, and gives you access to basically anywhere in Europe, plus some long hauls. It's one of the best sceneries released by Aerosoft, and it's an absolute no-brainer to get it in my opinion. Next up, we have Inibill's Heathrow, which is arguably one of the most popular airports for Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's one of the busiest airports in Europe, with 214 destinations in 84 countries and over 89 airlines, including British Airways and Virgin Atlantic. So you're never going to get bored anytime soon. On a personal level, this airport just hits different. The handmade ground textures, the recreated landside with all of the custom details, signposts, vegetation, parking barriers. Someone at Inibill's clearly has too much time on their hands, and honestly, I respect that. And to add to all of this, the scenery has over 160 handcrafted models. Terminal 5A, for example, has a fully walkable interior. All of the terminals have been completely remade for MSFS 24, and they've included Big Jet TV from his famous spotting location, which is a neat thing if you watch his streams. Performance-wise, it can be a little bit clunky, but overall it's optimized pretty well. They've used level of detail optimization for every model, as well as the latest MSFS 24 SDK features for better performance. For routes, you can pretty much fly anywhere from Heathrow. You can use the PNDG 737, the 777, the Phoenix A320, the 319, the 321, you name it, you can fly it from here. It's honestly endless, which is why it's in my recommended airports for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Inibill's Heathrow is quite possibly the most essential airport that you'll need for your simulator, whether you go for the 2024 version or the 2020 version. The quality is great, performance is kind of solid, considering its size and detail, and you'll never run out of routes to fly. It's one of Inni's absolute best, and it does show. But if you don't like the idea of Inibill's Heathrow, you're going to find this one hard to argue with. At number 3, we have Edinburgh V2 by Payware. This is a complete rebuild of their 2021 release, and the difference is genuinely stupid. Like, did the same people actually make this levels of improvement? Edinburgh serves as Scotland's busiest airport with over 14 million passengers annually, and connecting to over 150 destinations, so it is absolutely packed of potential routes for you to try. Visual quality though is Pyrrhic's creme de la creme, and honestly Edinburgh is one of the most impressive regional airports that I've ever used. It has the Archimedes screw drainage system fully modelled, which is something that immediately caught my eye when I first loaded up. The landside detail is also pretty impressive. The tram station, the new taxi and bus terminal extension, multi-storey car park, and a car rental centre are all modelled and included with the scenery. And if you love accuracy, you'll love how Pyrrhic has used recent LiDAR scans, so everything is honestly true to life. But the absolute best bit for the whole airport, in my opinion, has to be the tower. It has LED lights that change colour based on the day. Remembrance Day? Different colour. Christmas? Different colour. Random Tuesday in March? Okay, regular colour, but you get the point. Performance-wise, it's okay-ish. Even with all the custom ground clutter, the vans, the tubs, the trucks, the containers all scattered about, it does do pretty well. However, I have had on occasions where it can be a little bit clunky. But I largely blame MSFS 24 for being MSFS 24 more than the scenery itself. But having said that, I still think Edinburgh V2 is a great scenery to get if you can get it, especially if you want to fly into Scotland more regularly, although I'm not sure anybody wants to do that. It honestly shows what happens when smaller developers actually give a damn. The quality matches anything from the big boys, and those Scottish details make it pretty special. Definitely grab this one. And sticking with Pyrrhic, number 4 on my list is Pyrrhic's Birmingham International Airport, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. This one only just released in August of this year, but I think this one is a really good one because of the great use of MSFS 24's features, solid optimization and brilliant texturing. And if you really want to see what MSFS 24's walk-around mode can do, this is the airport to get. The terminal interiors are absolutely insane. I'm not even exaggerating. I spent literally an hour just walking around when I first bought it because my life is honestly that exciting. Animated passengers everywhere, accurate signage, even the ads on the walls are period correct. Honestly, Pyrrhic, you really need a hobby. Or therapy. Maybe both. Landside is a tiny bit sparse in areas, but still packed with detail where it matters. Every building and every road is exactly where it should be. And routes from Birmingham cover most of Europe with some extras. Ryanair, EasyJet, TUI, and even Emirates fly out of here, as well as Air India to Amritsar, and even a cheeky KLM to Amsterdam for connections. But overall, it's another solid scenery made by Pyrrhic. The terminals alone make it worth the price. It has future-proof layouts to keep it relevant, and if you want to properly test walk-around mode, this is the airport for you. It's an absolute no-brainer by me. Just buy it, buy it, buy it. If you fly VATSIM, you already own Copenhagen. If you don't, what are you even doing with your life? Flytamper's cash drop is basically required for Monday nights with vectors to Copenhagen. It's like the law or something. But even if you're one of those offline-only pilots like I am, this airport still slaps. Copenhagen's one of Europe's oldest airports, and Flytamper captured that iconic steel and glass architecture perfectly. They included ongoing terminal extensions because Flytamper doesn't do things by half, cargo buildings, ground textures, some of the best PBR work that I have seen. And I've seen a lot, like probably far too much. But what makes it brilliant is just how beginner friendly it is. The taxiway routes are easy to learn, the layout makes sense, and you won't get lost trying to find your gate or end up on the runway thinking, how the hell did I get here? But don't think it's dumbed down either. Custom animated jetways, proper ground clutter, everything that you would expect from Flytamper is there. It's just that it's an incredibly easy airport to get your head around, which is why it's perfect for beginners. And to top it all off, the location means you're surrounded by photogrammetry, which massively helps with immersion. They've blended custom landmarks with the photogrammetry brilliantly. Night lighting is also just chef's kiss, especially with all of the VATSIM traffic on Mondays. And it's honestly one of my favourite airports of all time. Performance is rock solid, quality is typical Flytamper experience. If you fly on VATSIM, it's honestly mandatory in my opinion. And if you don't, it's still a brilliant airport to get your hands on. At number 6 is Aerosoft's Frankfurt. But before I get into why it's so good, I do have to be honest, when this first came out, I hated it, like properly hated it. Performance was absolute garbage, my PC sounded like a jet engine while getting 15 FPS, objects miles away were being rendered for no reason whatsoever, the texturing looked like someone described an airport to someone who had never seen an airport in their life. But, and this is a big but, Aerosoft actually fixed it. Version 1.10 in particular was a complete game changer. It was a huge performance update that actually fixed the majority of issues, and now it's one of my regular airports, especially for Vatsan events where I do a cheeky plane spotting session and judge everyone's landings.
Retard.
Oh no, I flared too late.
Frankfurt is Germany's largest commercial airport and Lufthansa's main hub, so routes are pretty much endless. The layout, which is current as of September 2024, is pretty accurate, and Terminal 3 is there but not in operation yet. What I really love about the scenery is the taxiway bridges crossing the Autobahn to runway 07 left and 25 right. Not only this, but you also have passenger models moving around, custom vehicle traffic on the apron, the parking codes are all correct, and if you've got Aerosoft's VDGS module, the Type 1 and Type X safe dock systems are spot on. So yeah, Frankfurt did have a terrible start, but it's genuinely good now. If you've avoided it because of early reviews, like I told you to, give it another look. The fixes genuinely worked, and who doesn't want to fly some retro Lufthansa 747s? For number 7, we have MK Studios Zurich, which is probably the most scenic approach in Europe, in my opinion. The Alps surrounding the airport make every arrival special, and MK Studios has done an incredible job of capturing that. On my 4070 Ti, it runs beautifully. I've lost a few frames here and there, but considering what you're getting, I think it's worth a go. The modelling overall is where this airport really shines. Concourse A, B and E all have interiors. They've even modelled the spotting area near runway 32 and 16, which is a nice touch for us aviation lovers. Ground textures as well is some of the best out there. There's proper weathering, accurate markings, everything looks as it should. You'll also get custom jetways, custom vehicle models, and proper approach lights. Taxiways are also clear and accurate from what I can tell too, which makes navigating the airport so much easier than other complicated airports. But really what sets it apart is the night lighting. MK Studios went absolutely ham on this. Terminal illumination cutting through the darkness, approach lights with the mountains looming in the background. It is honestly genuinely beautiful. Like I should go outside kind of beautiful.
No! God, please, no! No!
And Zurich is a Swiss hub, so you've got the entire fleet at your disposal. A330s and 777s for long hauls to Asia and the Americas, plus it's perfect for VFR flights into the Alps if you fancy it as well. Honestly, this is MK Studios at their absolute best. Yes, it's demanding, but the quality justifies it. And the combination of that incredible Alpine setting and MK's attention to detail really shine in MSFS. Number 8 is another entry by Aerosoft, Brussels Airport. And this might actually be their best European airport. Yes, including Frankfurt, come at me. Brussels has terminal interiors for Pier A, B and the connector building, which are all absolutely gorgeous. You have animated passengers everywhere, correct signage, the works. But what made me do a double take was the function apron warning system. It's one of those real world features nobody talks about, but really kind of appreciates. Plus there's proximity triggers on the TUI and Lufthansa hangar doors, same as the apron gates. At this point, you do have to think the attention to detail is borderline concerning. These developers need hobbies. I also really love the atmosphere at this airport. The ambient ramp traffic brings the whole apron to life. Ground clutter and service equipment are at every stand, and the tower interior is fully modelled. Performance-wise, I have honestly never had an issue, which is great considering what you're getting. Miles better than Frankfurt at launch, low bar but still. And this airport has had several updates. They added the tower interior shortly after launch, more heavy stands around Pier A and B, spotter platforms and improved glass effects. In fact, version 1.0.1 alone had 30 different improvements, which shows they actually care about improving it. But overall, everything works, it looks fantastic, and it performs well. Some might argue this is honestly their best work, and it's kind of hard to disagree. Taking us to the Baltics, my next favourite is Lyceum's Riga airport. This is the largest airport in the Baltic states, and I know what you're thinking. Finally, a proper version that doesn't look like it was made in 2015. The aerial imagery surrounding it is brilliant, and they blended it perfectly with the scenery, so approaches are just beautiful. We also have a full terminal interior with accurate modelling that actually runs well. I get solid frames despite the level of detail, and I've never had an issue. Air Baltic also runs their entire operation from here, which means that when we get the A220, this airport has to be an essential. For now though, you've got 737s and A320s to use, and the route network is huge. There's plenty of connections all across Europe, plus routes to Asia and the Middle East to keep you occupied. There's plenty of connections all across Europe, plus routes to Asia and the Middle East to keep you occupied. Performance is another win too. Lyceum optimized it properly, so while the attention to detail is there, your GPU won't literally melt, which is always a plus. GSX integration does need a little work based on what I've heard, but that'll probably get sorted in an update later on. That being said, Riga is going to blow up once we get a proper A220. For now though, it's still a quality scenery that fills in the gap for that region, and if you fly Eastern European flights all the time, you need to grab this one. Next up, we have Newcastle Airport made by RW Profiles. Now, full disclaimer, I was a beta tester for this scenery, so I might be a tad biased, sue me. But even if I wasn't involved, it would still honestly make this list because it's absolutely mental how good it is for the price. I know both of the developers personally, and their commitment to quality and accuracy is borderline obsessive. They are very proud about what they do, and honestly it shows in their work, whether that is GSX profiles or sceneries. They don't do things half-assed. Fully modelled terminal interiors, entire land sides, custom jetways, complete GA area with FBO interior, custom ground clutter everywhere, and my PC doesn't even notice. And do not get me started on the tower. That Emirates branding is just, I honestly don't know what it is about it, but RW has done a fantastic job. Every time I taxi past it, I can't help but appreciate the level of detail and how well they've captured it. Texturing throughout is pretty sharp as well. Handmade ground textures that actually look like tarmac should. Weathered, marked properly, all the little details that make it feel real rather than a video game. And honestly, at $12.99 excluding VAT, this is an absolute steal. You're getting top tier quality and honestly a budget price. And when you consider what some developers charge for airports with half-assed features, it's almost criminal how good the value is. RW Profiles has undeniably proven themselves with this release, and if they maintain this standard going forward, they're going to be one of the big dogs in the scenery development world. Definitely ones to keep an eye on. Newcastle is honestly an essential, and it's just as simple as that. At number 11, it's Stockholm Arlanda from Orbix. In my opinion, I think Stockholm has always been one of the airports for simmers. The islands scattered below you on final are just absolutely mesmerizing, especially when it's cold winter conditions. Marcus, the developer for this scenery, actually partnered with Jetstream Designs for this airport, and it's clearly a passion project of theirs. The wear on older terminals looks authentic, while newer sections have that appropriate modern shine. But what really sets the airport apart from others is the weather-influenced features. For example, you have snowbanks actually accumulate near taxiways during winter months. Snow removal trucks appear when conditions warrant them. Ground traffic adjusts based on the time of day and the weather. All of these dynamic elements make Stockholm feel different every time that you load in. I know, actual variety in a flight sim, revolutionary. The only downside is that terminal interiors and Sky City are enhanced rather than fully modelled, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Some of the interior lacks in areas, but as a result you get good performance while still getting that sense of immersion. Plus they've added LOD optimization for you so that you can disable things like ground clutter or the snowbanks if you need to. but I've personally never had to. And to add to all of that, Stockholm's route network is absolutely massive. You'll also get the typical Norwegian flight, Finnair connections to Asia via Helsinki, and even long hauls to North America. It's the third busiest airport in Scandinavia, for a reason. So all in all, Arlanda is the complete package. Great visuals, excellent performance, dynamic features that keep it fresh, plus that incredible approach. And if you could only buy one scenery from this list, you should make it this one. Seriously. And finally, wrapping up our list is Druzeki Design's Warsaw Chopin. Warsaw Chopin? Warsaw's Chopin. That is a mouthful. I am a huge fan of their work, and Warsaw is arguably their best airport yet. It is Poland's busiest airport, handling 40% of the country's air traffic, over 18 million passengers annually, and this is partly the reason why it makes it on this list. The detail, however, is honestly insane. The entire terminal interior is modelled. You have check-in areas, security, lounges, everything that you would need. The detailed landside is probably on the same level as Payware. Every sign, every barrier, every bench and billboard is fully modelled. And they've included ambient sounds as you move around the airport. Static aircraft are just literally everywhere and in various states of turnaround. But if you want to save some performance, you can absolutely turn this off if you want to. I personally don't, as they add to the atmosphere, but it is an option for you. Now, the only real downside is that sometimes their airports can be a little bit laggy. The LOD is sometimes aggressive to help performance, so static aircraft can lose texturing quickly as you move away. The same can be said for terminal lighting. It can sometimes pop in at night, but considering the level of detail that you get, it's a pretty fair trade-off. It's still definitely one to consider in my opinion. Yes, it's demanding, but the detail was worth it. Solid attention to detail, reasonable-ish performance, LOD optimization, plenty of routes. It makes my list, and deservedly so. So there we have it, 12 airports that are absolutely worth your money if you're flying in Europe. I know that I've probably missed your absolute favourite of all time, so if I have, let me know in the comments so everybody else benefits from your impeccable taste in virtual airports. As always, links will be in the description if you want to check out the sceneries for yourself, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to the video if it helps you avoid wasting money on garbage airports. It'll also kind of help me eventually pay for a razor to have a shave. I'll see you in the next one, stay safe and try not to crash.